Yeah, why I started preparing for AWS Solutions Architect exam. So let me qualify. This is a lightning talk. It'll be less than 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, let me start with the why. Okay, my DevOps experience consisted of deploying to Heroku, doing deployment to Capistrano, to EC2, used S3 and RDS in AWS, and I'd also used Jenkins. But I always felt, I was able to manage, but I always felt I needed a lot more expertise in these areas. I'm going to spend more time explaining why I started preparing for it, and some time as well how I went on preparing and what is the exam and everything. Right. So I was able to set up DNS entries, install certificates. Those things were manageable, but I struggled with virtual private clouds, security groups, network ACLs. If anybody has dealt with AWS, you would be familiar with this thing that you can set up an EC2 instance, deploy even your Rails app and get your database working. You can do all those things. But the moment you have to set up your own VPCs, I hope, setting up your own security groups, network ACLs, the learning curve just zooms up. It's an exponential thing. You need to know a lot of things just to do simple things. So people just keep it simple, but that's not exactly secure, and that's neither the best practice of doing things. I struggled also with debugging some issues with AWS. I had used a cloud formation template. It's sort of a template to set up EC2 instances, and I struggled to, I struggled why I was not able to send emails, and I later figured out that there was a port not open in the network ACL, and that's when it stuck to me that my knowledge is limited, and I have to really do something, uh, to improve that. And also, whenever I used to do a large release, I was always feeling uncomfortable with, if especially if the DevOps team is not around. Uh, we all work in startups, so you will have DevOps team, but it will be one or two persons. And when that person is on leave, and if you want to do a large release or something breaks, you're always uneasy. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to really learn and understand these things. So I wanted to understand networking, security, and other services in the cloud. AWS was a natural choice because AWS has a large market share, and hence naturally the certification has good value. And the knowledge I would learn in AWS is transferable to other public clouds like Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure, because concepts like VPC, security groups, security networking, compute, serverless, all of these are transferable, right? And maybe I need to learn a bit more or unlearn some things, but these knowledge is definitely transferable. Let me give you a bit of details about the AWS Solution Architect Associate exam. The cost is $150. It's the certification is valid for 3 years, and it has mostly scenario-based questions. So it's unlikely I can pass with just going through dumps of questions. There are multiple choice questions, but scenario-based questions. They give you a scenario, like for example, you are building a real-time application, and what kind of storage you would use. So there will be 3 or 4 answers that you have to choose one from. So 30% is easy question, 30% medium, and 30% hard questions, and you need 70% to pass the exam. So that's about the details of the exam. So I'll just give you a brief of what all I have prepared for it. So AWS Solutions Architect Associate course from A Cloud Guru. It's 12 hours of video content. And there's a course offered by AWS itself. It's a digital training course, a well-architected framework course, that's called. And AWS also offers a AWS Solutions Architect exam readiness course. And I took this course, and it's just basically goes through the kind of questions that comes in the exam. And that's when I realized I have not prepared enough, and I have to prepare more, and it didn't give me confidence at all, guys. So I'm preparing more. And there's a lot of There's a lot of questions on the well-architected framework. There's a white paper on well-architected framework, and there's also a course provided by AWS, which I mentioned earlier. And you need to read a lot of FAQs like EC2, S3, RDS, and a lot of hands-on labs, especially with respect to networking, that is VPCs, serverless compute, and EC2. And they say if you're able to build a VPC from memory with subnets, route tables, internet gateway, and network ACL, there's a good chance you will pass the exam. So there's a lot of weight on building VPCs, the practical part. The other skills I would want to pick up after AWS Solutions Architect is Terraform, which is infrastructure as a code software, Docker, Kubernetes, performance testing, and I really want to do this thing, build infra so that I could serve 1 million requests per second. I don't know why it's something fancy that I want to do, and I really want to do that. So I'm almost done with the the video course, which is the AWS Solutions Architect from A Cloud Group. I did the AWS Solutions Architect exam readiness course, which I mentioned, and it didn't give me confidence at all. Uh, so there is still some more time where I can schedule the exam, and there's still a lot more time where I can be building an infrastructure, serving 1 million requests per second. But I'm getting there slowly and steadily. And that's it. I'm done. I took 6.5 minutes, a little more than 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Um,
Any questions?